Welcome to the Stahls Heat Press for Profit podcast, a show designed for people who are trying to make it in their heat print hustle. I'm your host, Josh Ellsworth, and we're excited today to welcome Nancy Julian from Huckleberry, Inc. Huckleberry, Inc. is an independent creative imaging studio based in Rochester, Washington that makes really great looking apparel. Nancy is a longtime member of our Heat Press for Profit Facebook group and regularly posts photos of the cool looks she creates. We're excited to learn all about Nancy's business on today's show as we share ideas. Nancy, welcome to the podcast. Can you spend a minute or two telling our listeners a little bit about Huckleberry, Inc. and your journey to where you are today?
Yeah, thank you, Josh. I started Huckleberry, Inc. in 2011 in the laundry room of my house. I borrowed $500 from my dad to buy some used equipment. I started out with zero clue what I was doing. It was kind of a scary start to what became what it is today.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to unpacking that a little bit. But before we dive into further conversation, I want to give our first-time listeners an overview of the show. And the format is simple. We host casual conversations with apparel decorators like Nancy in hopes that we might make a difference in their business and yours. So, $500 in 2011.
Yeah.
Wow. And so that's, I think, at least in this day and age, we would call that a shoestring budget to get a business started. I'm just curious, how did you go about planning with that $500? What was your first move? What did you buy first?
Well, actually, it was an ad I saw. I think it was Craigslist at that time. Just a guy who needed to get out of town quick. His dad was sick, and he had a bunch of equipment, some blank apparel, and a bunch of rolls of vinyl.
And you jumped on the opportunity.
Yeah, I thought, what the heck? This could be fun.
All right. What were you doing at the time?
I worked for a title and escrow company.
Okay. And you were actively looking for a side hustle or something to kind of move to?
No. In my job, I used to be able to do a lot of marketing and create flyers and stuff like that. And with insurance regulations, they took that away and called it something of value we were offering to our customers. So I kind of lost a creative outlet to fill my time.
Yeah, to express yourself and fill your time.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. And so the laundry room, was it a heat press? Was that one of the first things?
Yep, a heat press and a vinyl cutter.
Heat press and a vinyl cutter. Do you remember the brands, or do you still have them?
I don't have the heat press any longer. I did actually upgrade the plotter. It was a Suma plotter, and it was a really old D60. I don't even know if they make them anymore. Mm-hmm. But I've since upgraded the plotter and, of course, the heat presses.
Yeah, and you've expanded a little bit beyond the laundry room, from what I understand, right? Yeah,
today I have a 24 by 36 shop.
Okay, and I know we've had the opportunity to talk on the phone before we kicked off this podcast. I was planning this, gosh, it had to be over a year ago. We did a conversation in hopes that we would be able to publish it. And I know you mentioned at the time that your shop was near your home but separate from your home. So can you give our listeners a little rundown of like what it looks like?
Yeah, we actually relocated to Rochester about 5 years ago. And so our house and shop is on the same property. So my commute is about 35 steps. Yeah, so it's a totally separate building. It's my she shed.
Ah, nice. And so what products now fill your she shed? What are some of your favorite toys that you're using to create cool looks and service your customers?
Oh my goodness. So I have 4 embroidery machines. I have, 2 fusion heat presses, a ball press, a cap press, a wonderful heated weeding table. Just this last year, we bought the Roland print cut, mm-hmm. which has been absolutely amazing. And then I have just tons of inventory.
Great. And I saw, did you recently invest in a laser
Yes.
machine as well?
Yes, we did just this year got a laser engraver, and so that is actually housed in a separate building. And I do all the artwork, and my husband does all the operating of that.
Good. And then how do you have employees in the business now to run all that equipment and service orders?
I do. I have one full-time employee, and then I have two part-time employees.
Okay, great. That's exciting to hear. And so, were those recent additions, or how long ago did you make that move to bring on staff?
Well, in 2015, when we relocated, and I commuted about 45 minutes for about 30 days, and then decided something had to give because 2 hours on the road a day was really cutting into my side gig.
Right, I bet. I
And
bet.
so when I went full time, I had originally brought one of my daughters on, and we worked together for about 2 years. And then she moved on to other things. And then I brought another full time employee. And during that time, my daughter was here. I also had a part time high school girl that came in.
Good. And then one of the things that I'm always interested in is you've grown your capability, we should call it, quite a bit over the years. How do you decide timing of like a new equipment investment, or what's your thought process when you're looking at expanding your capability with it through equipment?
Well, I think for me, right off the bat, upgrading the cutters and printers was important just for the quality of the output of the product. I started out sending all my embroidery out, contracted out, and after seeing how much revenue I was giving away, I decided I think I'm going to get an embroidery machine. And at that point, I really had no clue other than, you stitch it on clothing, what embroidery was. And I brought home an embroidery machine and thought, okay,
Was
here
it a
goes.
single head machine, or are they all single head machines?
I have two single heads, and then just recently we bought a two-head embroidery machine.
Okay, great. And so I think that's smart for the listeners out there is the fact that you started with contract work, you built the demand for it, and then I'm sure you ran the math equation to understand that you could make X amount more in profit if you were able to bring the technology in house and not give that profit away, so to speak, anymore. So I assume based on your expansion of your embroidery equipment that it's been in a good move. And what other benefits have you realized by bringing it in house versus contracting it?
Just more control over the product. If the customer needs just one more, being at your own disposal, really, being able to create that on the spot and have it ready in 15, 20 minutes versus a 2 week turnaround time from a contract embroiderer.
And what was the learning curve like for you since you knew very little about embroidery?
Um, You know, I would say I was scared to death thinking, because everyone said, oh, there's a huge learning curve, huge learning curve. I think it's all in the way that you look at it, and I don't try to do everything. I don't digitize my own files. I send them out professionally, so the file comes ready to be embroidered. So as long as you understand the product that you're embroidering to, what kind of stabilizer you need and stuff like that, I mean, basic research, and you're off and running.
Good. No, I think that's right because digitizing artwork in general, I think, is one of the most complex parts of any process in our industry. But you said you kind of focus on the artwork side. So even though you're not digitizing per se, are you creating like the vector artwork for all the other processes that you're running there?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. And did you have a background at all in Corel
Uh,
or Illustrator?
I had a background in Photoshop,
Photoshop. Okay.
which doesn't get you a whole long ways with Corel Draw. And I had no idea what Corel Draw even was, and that was the first program I downloaded, and that's what I use today. And I would just say YouTube is your friend.
Yeah, it's a luxury that we have YouTube and a lot of folks that want to share free education out there. So that's very nice.
Right.
Good. So I know in prepping for the show, you have accomplished a lot of things over the last year, including some that we've covered with adding the two-head embroidery machine, I want to unpack a little bit more the roll and print cut in just a minute, but one of the notes you said is you've exceeded your sales goal. So first, congratulations, and I'm excited to hear that you have a sales goal, you measured against it, and you know that you exceeded it. So what's the business planning process look like for your shop from year to year? When do you do that, and how do you set your goals?
Really, I start about October, just because, by the time November hits, it's like November, December, January are a blur. It's like
Mm-hmm.
can't get past that. So I try to predict from October to October, and my goal is to grow at least 20% every year, and so far I've exceeded that expectation every year. I'm afraid to set it higher.
Well, yeah, because at some point, I mean, maybe not, and I hope not, but at some point you never know, right? Is this the plateau year? So I think 20% is, to me, it sounds aggressive, especially for a business that's been in business for 9 years now, or going on 10 years.
Yeah.
So great. And why is November to January a blur? I just want to detail that a little bit for people listening.
Well, my shop, I only open 2.5 days a week to the public for walk-ins. The rest of the time it's nose to the grind, and we have boxes from the door to the heat press waiting to be done. So those days are all production. So by the time Wednesday rolls around, it's time to button everything up. The doors are going to open and people are going to come in. And so the Christmas rush is always crazy for us. And so that instant gratification of people walking in and wanting, stuff right away.
Yeah, so a lot of retail
Yeah,
type buys in that period of time,
right.
gift giving, etc. So that's an interesting model. Did you start with that open 2.5 days for walk-in traffic, or is that something you evolved to?
I would say the first 6 months I was open 5 days a week, and it just became time for production. And there was no time when, the door is revolving, you're not getting anything done. And I needed that downtime to get orders out.
As a small business, it's important to be able to manage all parts of the process and hit customer expectations. So I know that one of the big deterrents for folks looking to get their own space, right? There's usually rent, there's increased overhead, whatever way you look at it. But another is retail hours. So I
Right.
think the approach of being open 2.5 days and your customers start to learn that for orders, I'm sure those 2.5 days, do you feel like you just jam pack the audience into those 2.5 days, or do you feel like you're missing out by not being open additional days?
I don't feel like I'm missing out, and I think over the past 4 years, people have gotten used to the fact that I'm only open Thursdays, Fridays, and Sundays.
Hmm.
And, I still answer the phone, I still answer emails, I still take appointments Monday through Wednesday to have a more one-on-one with customers. So I don't feel like I'm missing out at
Okay.
all.
Good, good. And since the business is so successful and growing, how are you marketing? Like, how do people hear about you?
Word of mouth. Other than, posting a picture on Facebook or Instagram, I've never marketed, gone out and asked for business. I think word of mouth, referrals, the product speaks for itself, and I'm actually scared to death to advertise.
Because of the increase, or what? What scares you
Right.
about? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, what would happen if I actually advertise? Yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
scary. Yeah.
Well, no, that's great. I mean, I love it's kind of a theme in people I'm talking to. There's some that go out and they'll proactively chase the business through hearing a lot of social media marketing, of course, in the day we live in today, but hearing a lot of word of mouth. And I think that speaks to I don't know if I want to call it boutique, but almost like the boutique quality of the
Right.
work that apparel decorators do with the look and the style. And if you're doing it right, things people can't really get at the quantities you're servicing anywhere else.
Right.
And so I know I've been personally inspired by all the looks and photos you share. I'm sure you're sharing them on your personal or your business Instagram and Facebook page, but they make their way over sometimes into our Heat Press for Profit Facebook group. How do you come up with all these cool ideas and looks? Where do you get inspired from?
Sometimes just by looking at what's out in the market today, staying with the trends of what's happening, and most of the time it's just something that pops in my head.
That's good to have that creative juice and flow where you can create stuff like that. Or do you find that you're often merchandising looks in the store or through your photography that customers are like, I want that, and then you just kind of make it their own? Or are customers coming a lot to you with a sketch on a blank sheet of paper and you're helping their idea come to life?
I would say I have a balance of both. I I've had people bring things in on a napkin. What can you make of this? And then I've had, about 2 years ago, I guess, started selling wholesale to the boutiques, and we ship all over United States now. And most everything for that side of the business is all stuff I've created. And so it's unique and not the same as everything that's out in the wholesale world.
That's cool. Is there a certain target market that you're selling wholesale to?
I sell to small boutiques.
Small boutiques. And is
Yeah.
it the Huckleberry Inc. brand that's on the clothing, or what is it?
No, I always work in somewhere within the design Huckleberry Inc., but no, it's all just original designs.
Great. Great. That's good. And when did you start doing that? I'm sorry.
About 2 years ago.
About 2 years ago. And
Yeah.
and how is that business growing year on year? Do you measure that out separately?
I haven't separated out, but it's a pretty good portion of the business now.
And seeing a lot of reorders from folks that stock your product on shelf?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. Again, speaks to the quality of the design, and I think that's important for those listening is you can be a lot of things to a lot of different people. There's a lot of ways you can make your offer unique, but if you can create great looking stuff, high quality stuff, word of mouth tends to work well, and your reorder rate tends to increase, which keeps the business growing year after year, as we hear from Nancy here. So there's a lot I want to talk about, but I want to dive into the print cut investment a little bit and kind of understand why you decided to move forward with that equipment and what sorts of products you're producing off that machine, because I know it's pretty versatile with what it can do.
Yeah. That has been an amazing journey. I had wavered back and forth and put it in my cart and contacted the sales team, and then it came a time where, I do a lot of vinyl, and weeding multicolored designs is very time consuming.
Mm-hmm.
And layering vinyl for decals, it's very time consuming. And so for me, it was a time saver, another opportunity to expand the business. I don't know, probably in the first week I had it, I printed 27 banners.
Wow.
And, I just print stickers all day and banners, posters, HTV. I'm amazed.
Which machine do you have? Do you know the model?
The 300i.
Okay, the VS300i.
Yeah.
Okay, and did you end up going with just the CMYK inks, or did you go with the expanded color range?
Just the CMYK.
CMYK, so you're getting pretty good print speeds off of the machine, which is great.
Yeah.
Good. And so are you taking standalone orders most of the time for banners and posters, or is it bundled up with, a package where somebody gets this many stickers, this many shirts, in a banner?
No, I haven't been doing that. I think, well, sometimes it's an add-on feature, it's like, oh, did you know we do stickers? And they're like, what? Um, you, yeah, I don't know, it's amazing. I do a lot of printing on that little bad boy.
Good. Good. Well, I'm happy to hear that. It seems like most of your equipment investments have been successful. I always like to ask about the flip side, and we don't have to get specific, but have you made any bad investment choices in equipment that you regret?
Yes.
Okay. And without getting specific on the equipment, because I don't want to throw any particular technology under the bus, like why didn't that particular investment work for your shop?
Well, it's a white toner printer,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know. Maybe I haven't taken enough time to learn more about the product,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't feel like it should be that hard, and the quality has not been good.
So just the output of, so when you say quality, do you mean after you get it on the garment, as far as like when the customer sees it, or you do just mean consistency as far as getting good prints?
Consistency of getting good prints, adhesion to the fabric, wearability. I just have not seen it. I don't trust it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want it to be one of those things where the customer takes the shirt home, washes it, and it looks terrible.
Yeah. Do you have any direct-to-garment printers there yet?
No,
Have you considered it?
no.
Okay, and why not?
Well, I've done a lot of research into it, and I feel like there are so many mixed reviews that I haven't convinced myself that it would be a good investment. They're a lot of money, and it's got to have the return for investment.
Good. Good. Yeah, you had just about every technology there except that in direct screen printing.
Right.
Right. So good. Well, I feel like we've talked a lot about equipment and enough about that side of it. I want to make sure that we get to some of the challenges that are currently facing your business. So if you had to say what is your number one challenge today facing the business in 2020, what would that be?
I would say time. Time is a challenge for me. I don't feel like there's enough time in the day. And I currently work still about 14 hours a day.
Wow.
Yeah. I think for me, I need to learn to let go of some. I have a full-time staff. She's been here almost 2 years, and the only thing I let her do is weed and press. Which is a huge weight off my shoulder because it needs to be done. But I don't like giving up the design aspect of it or some of the customer contact just because I feel like I want to be a part of that.
Yeah, that's a tough thing for
Yeah.
for an entrepreneur and somebody that's really your face is the business, right? People
Right. Yeah.
trust you, they know you. Just to backtrack a little bit, you said you let your full-time employee weed and press. How
Right.
long did it take you to allow them to heat press?
I would say probably about a couple of months.
A couple months? Yeah, I know
Yeah.
that in my sort of side hustle when I do print shirts, I'm always a little anxious about allowing somebody else to press the shirts because that's when all of the work that's done can be
Right.
ruined and you've sunk all this time into the job, and then if it's not right, then you're in trouble, right?
Right.
Or if it goes to the customer and something happens, you're even in more trouble. But I think that is a big weight. I'm glad that you were able to allow. Is it a him or a her? I'm sorry.
A her.
A her. Okay. I'm glad that you're able to allow her to learn to operate that heat press and weed, because that is a lot of the time aspect of the business. But what do you said kind of letting go the customer contact side. So are you the point on all customer contact currently?
Probably 95% of the time.
Okay. And so is that something you're actively working to address, or you're kind of just like, we're going to stick with this?
No, I think I just need to put more trust in that, my employee knows. She knows the pricing, she knows the product, she knows what I expect and what the customer expects. So I just need to, not be the hover boss and be like, well, did you?
Yeah, I think we're all the same way in a lot of ways. I'm even just in my role here, sometimes I have a difficult time being able to delegate and let go of certain things. So that certainly can hold you back in the business. But just for those listening, I think that there's a couple key things that you mentioned there in that last statement that would make it possible for you to allow your full-time employee to handle some of these tasks, is that she understands product and she understands pricing. And so to me, that implies that you have standardized pricing rules for quoting jobs. Is that correct?
Yes.
Which is huge in a business. So I'm guessing with that, you're not receiving as much price pressure as another business without standardized rules might receive.
Right. Yes.
So gives you the ability to quote instantly, be able to hand off certain parts of the job. And I'd say those standardized pricing rules are a big thing lacking from most startup decoration businesses for sure. And even some that have been in business 10, 20 years still don't have standardized pricing, which I think is a flaw in many business models.
Right.
So I know that a lot of people are going to want to hear your tips, because a lot of decorators, they look up to you, honestly, with how you share stuff. And I just see the way that our other decorators respond to you in the Facebook group. And, I'd say you get the most likes out of anybody on your work, which is awesome to see. So you're doing awesome. You're doing something right. So I know the folks listening to this are going to want to know, what's your advice if somebody's just getting into the business, maybe they're where you were in that laundry room 9 years ago. What would be your basically top things that you've learned that you want to share with other aspiring professionals?
Oh, man.
That's a big one, I know. So you can
Yeah.
break it down into small chunks,
I would say, there is so much information out there. I mean, Stahls does an amazing job. I was lucky when I bought the equipment and the product that I did when I first started, that one of the rolls of vinyl said Stahls on the inside. You guys don't print it like that anymore. But it had Stahls all the way in the inside of the cardboard tube, and I was like, what is this? That's how I found Stahls. And I mean, there is a video for everything. It's like a whole library at your disposal. I would say just, watch the videos. There's so much free information. My number one advice I could give right now, and I'm working really hard on it this year, is it's okay to say no. It's okay. I've put myself in positions where people have come in and been like, hey, it's Wednesday. We need 100 shirts by Friday. I'm like, oh, okay, no problem. Well, no, that's unrealistic expectations. And I've done it time and time and time again. And when you put yourself in that position to always say yes, you can never say no.
And those 14 hours probably become 18 hours really quickly.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's good advice. We have a hard time, I think, just as humans, saying no and being upfront and realistic on things. So being able to translate that into a business becomes even more difficult. So you do have standardized turn time as well on your delivery?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Great.
But we also, the Thursday and Friday and Sundays, we stock a lot of products in our shop. We have a showroom, and then we have the equipment side. And so I call it instant gratification because everyone loves to walk away with something. So on those days, Thursdays, Fridays, and Sundays, when customers come in, if the shirt's in stock and the store is not packed with people, then we produce the product while they wait.
Well, that's great to see. Is there a premium for that, or it's same rate?
It's actually the same rate. And a lot of things for local schools and stuff like that, we keep all those screen print transfers on hand. And sometimes we have vinyl pre-cut and ready to go for common designs for local schools.
If I walk into your shop as a parent of a high school kid or a middle school kid and shop, how do I see the product? How are you showcasing the blank apparel options and the design options inside of the retail? Is it a retail space?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
So when you walk into my shop, it looks like you've come right into a store. And so there's racks of clothing and shelves of t-shirts and many of the other products that we produce. A lot of things we have already made up, so you can just grab and go. And so you just pick your shirt. We have books with some common designs in them or quick designs that we've already designed and can cut out real quick. So you just pick your shirt, pick a design, and then we go from there.
Are you seeing a lot of folks leverage additional personalization like names or numbers, hashtags, monograms, that sort of thing?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yes.
And do you have a separate rate for that?
We do, yes.
Okay, good. Good. I think that's a big one, is being able to get that incremental revenue on the same shirt somebody's buying through just a $5 personalization or whatever it may be.
Right.
What are you charging to drop a name on the back of a t-shirt?
$5 for just regular print, and if they want glitter metallic, then it's $8.
I love it. Okay, good stuff. And then, of course, I'm going to ask you for advice for Stahls. It's something different for this episode because I feel like you've been a longtime customer of Stahls and Transfer Express. It's cool to hear that you found us on the inside of a roll. I'll have to take that. I know our teams listens to these podcasts as well, so we'll have to take that back to the marketing team about getting our brand again on the inside of those rolls. But what would you like to see next from Stahls? If we could do something better, or there's a piece of content you would like to see, what are some ideas that you might have for us as a supplier to you?
It's like every time I think of something you guys should do, then you do it. It's like the other day I just saw Stahls is doing leather patches. I'm like, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I have a great relationship with Stahls Transfer Express. It's like anytime I've ever had or needed anything, a call into customer service or reach out to the sales rep, and it's like always the answer.
Good.
I don't think I have any advice. You guys do an awesome job. I love the Facebook page. It's always informational. The search bar is amazing. If I ever looking for something, somebody's already asked the question. I'm like, sweet.
All right, that's great. Well, we'll take it then. That's an easy one to fix. Stay the same. So appreciate that. But we're constantly working to improve, and we do look at everything that you all are saying and creating in the group and feedback on products. So very active in that way, which is great. So any technical challenges that you're having right now with product decoration? Or it seems like you're able to navigate to the resources and execute everything you need to do in the business. But do you have any questions for me that you'd like advice on or a second opinion on?
I don't think so.
If the answer is no, it's good. Again, you're making my job easier, so we'll just ask you more questions.
Yeah.
So one of the other things you mentioned in the show notes as far as challenges to your business was we talked, I think, a little bit about balancing. Marketing, we've kind of covered in that you're getting the business you think you need with word of mouth currently. The other one was space. And so you've put a lot of large equipment into your new space there. Do you see an expansion on the horizon, or how are you going to navigate these space issues? What are you seeing there?
I know. My husband's always saying, well, let's just build a bigger shop. And I think it's just like a woman's purse. The bigger purse you get, the more stuff you put in it. And to be honest, I started out with probably a 4x6 area, and I've gone to a 24 by 36 building. If you give me bigger, I'm just going to get bigger equipment. I'm like, now I have room for the 64-inch printer. Now I need 8-head embroidery machine. And yeah, so I am pretty content with where I'm at. I mean, the only thing I would do if I wanted more equipment was cut down the retail area of the shop and just not have as much inventory.
Do you travel outside of the shop at all to get sales, like to any events or anything like that?
I do have a mobile trailer.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I used to travel a lot. I used to go to baseball tournaments and wrestling tournaments, rodeos, car shows, bike events.
Why don't you any more time? You're busy enough with the work you have?
Last year I did just the three rodeos and one other event, and that was by choice. I've contemplated selling the trailer and not traveling. It was a lot easier when I didn't do this full time,
Hmm.
because it takes about a day and a half to get the trailer loaded, everything stocked, order inventory, and then go set up, tear down, bring it back, and then you got to go back through everything, restock the shop, bring the equipment back. It's a lot of work. It and they're very profitable, so it's really hard not to want to do it, but sometimes you have to find that balance in what is the quality of life you want. Do you want to be working 70 hours a week, or do you want to enjoy some downtime?
Sure. And I assume at the trailer, most of it's print on demand. Pick the shirt, pick the design, similar to your retail experience currently.
Exactly, and we do customs on the spot as well when we go mobile like that.
Good. Well, to me, what I'm hearing is that's an opportunity
Yeah.
to not necessarily for you to do it, but to have somebody potentially go out and handle events for you. I think it would connect getting the brand out there more in the marketing side of it to bring in more word of mouth business and awareness. And it's kind of contained, right? You can very much measure your sales at an event. And if you have a well-rounded person that can handle the pricing and selling and the decoration at an event, I think it's a revenue stream that's very measurable, and could even think about perhaps giving that person working the events on your behalf a commission on the sales at the event to kind of keep them charged and going.
Right, that's a great idea.
Good. So when you were doing the events at a higher rate, other than the setup and tear down and all the work involved, you said they were pretty profitable. How did you push people to make a decision? How did you help them navigate? Because I always hear the horror stories of lines stacking up, and you have these folks that can't decide what they want. How did you detail the process, or did you experience that same thing?
I Yeah, I've experienced that. I would say the most important thing is to have extra people there just to write down orders. Yeah, I've seen 25 people deep lines, and it's scary. It's like, how are we going to get to all these people?
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes at those events, less is more. If you only offer, um, 5 or 6 designs, then people won't have such a hard time deciding what they want. Like one time I brought like 12 books with all my designs in it, and then you have people just standing around for hours trying to figure out what they want. Um, yeah, just if the event is football, only do football.
Hmm. What products were you selling at the rodeos? What were the products that were connecting with that audience?
Oh, anything rodeo related.
Um,
Oh, yeah. We do a lot of custom stuff at rodeos because, I think one of the nicest things about what we do is that you don't have to have what everyone else has. If you're a barrel racer, then you don't have to get a sweatshirt with a bull on it because that's the only thing they had for the event. You can get a barrel racer.
hmm
Or if your favorite color is pink, then you don't have to have the royal blue one. So people like to be able to make their own choice and have choices and have
Yeah.
instant gratification at the same time.
And typically at events, you can drive a higher ticket price on items, correct?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
you can.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a big thing. One product that I'm really interested to see how it does. Have you seen our new hat press?
Yes.
I'm anxious to hear how that does at events, because from my perspective, I think it's going to be pretty good because hats are virtually a one size fits all.
Right. Yeah.
So it eliminates the worries about sizing with t-shirt inventory. For those that are kind of buying for the event and don't have inventory at the shop, that can be a concern. And that really simplifies the decoration size, and the fact that you can take a small leather patch or, and then a flex style emblem and maybe an embroidered emblem and be able to have a little bit of a variety, but kind of like pick and press type
Right.
applications.
Yeah. Yeah. I've taken the hat press and hats, and it's fast and easy. Yeah. Everyone
Yeah.
loves hats.
And a lot of the sort of larger retailers that have permanent retail stores and malls and kiosks and whatnot, they're really interested in that because of the revenue per square foot.
Right. Yeah.
So an interesting connection to that is I know you measure growth year on year, and you mentioned you have a 24 by 36 building, but maybe detailing out the revenue per square foot for your shop based on the equipment size and space that it's
Yeah.
consuming could be an interesting metric to take a look at.
That would be, yeah.
Good. Well, I'm sure we could talk all day, but I know we're coming up on our time here. So I want to make sure that it seems like we've covered any questions you have. Is there anything else you would like to ask or share with listeners before I wrap up today's episode?
I did forget to mention one thing, where my apparel decorating all started.
Sure.
And I was 17 years old, and I was working at Ben Franklin Crafts. And I don't know if they're across the world, but in my little town, we had a Ben Franklin Crafts. And by the time I was 19 years old, I became the fabric and wearable arts manager. And wearable arts at that time was Wonder Under, which you ironed onto the back of fabric and pressed it on your shirt, and then you went around it with a little puffy paint.
Yeah.
And I taught classes on that back in the day.
Wow.
So that's where my apparel decorating started.
So that's what piqued your interest. You're an educator by trade, right? With that job, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Good. No, that's interesting. And if you walk into, I don't know if the Ben Franklin Crafts is still in business, but if you walk into a Hobby Lobby or a Michael's or whatever it might be here, now you see a whole world that's just exploded.
Oh, yeah.
In the maker space. So I have no doubt that we'll be training up other teenagers to be interested in decoration. We're even seeing whole school curriculums starting to teach
Right,
not just screen printing, but heat printing and just different ways to decorate apparel, which is awesome to see.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Good. Well, again, Nancy, I want to thank you so much for joining us, for fighting through some technical difficulties on the front end with me. And most of all, just staying connected to our industry and being able and willing to share your work and what you do. I know I speak on behalf of a ton of folks when I say thanks for all that you do in that Facebook group.
Thank you.
All right. If you'd like to ask follow-up questions, I'm going to encourage you to go over to our Heat Press for Profit Facebook group and look for our show conversation thread. Over on the Heat Press for Profit Facebook group, you can network and share ideas with thousands of businesses aiming to make a profit with heat printing, just like you. We hope you found something today that was useful to you and certainly something that inspired you. We wish Nancy nothing but the best success, and we thank you for listening to the show.